Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory be to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakudash. And I want to say double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone that rule well. Blessings to the hopeful elect out there listening and learning and teaching this word in sincerity and truth in the hopes that we may edify and feed the lambs of Yahweh Shai, especially in these last days. And excuse me while I pull up a couple of scriptures as I just open this, open up this lesson. A couple of precepts came to my mind, so I want to bank them real quick, and I want to get them throughout the course of this lesson. But I wanted to focus specifically on the principal things, right, for a man's life in this lesson. All right, Sirach 39 to 26 will be the scripture that I'm going to go to first, which the scriptures outline the principal things for the use of man's life. Okay, and I'm going to show you in this lesson, Lord willing, as I attempt to outline how Esau has pretty much used and weaponized every form of life against us, for the principal things for the use of man's life. And this is why we need deliverance. This is why we need salvation, because everything that we are to use as a principal use for man's life has been polluted and corrupted and turned against us and turned into poison, basically, whether it's mentally or physically. And we need out of here. All right, so this ain't gonna be a long lesson. It's just something that just dawned on my spirit because we was reasoning. Arkin was reasoning before camp. The elder Ramah, was reasoning on certain things. I'm not gonna go into it, but one of the brothers came out with this scripture, about the principal things for the use of man's life. And it got me to thinking as I'm sitting here thinking about meditating upon this scripture. This this screams volumes. Okay, in terms of the principal things of the use of man's life. And why did I say it screams volumes? Because first of all, I want to go into the word principle. All right, and see what that says. The word principle, it says one who holds a position of presiding rank, especially the head of an elementary school, middle school, or high school. This is the main participant in a situation, the main participant. So the basic things that we need, the main participants that we need in order, right, to carry us through our life. Now, ultimately, we know it's this truth. All right, but when you're talking about on a physical level, on the earth, where we are today, the things that we need, Esau weaponizes and attacks us with it. So I'm going to go into the scripture here. This is Sirach chapter 39, verse 26. This is the principal things, right, for the whole use of man's life, right, are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil, and clothing. Now, you can pretty much pinpoint every single main participant of what we need to aid us through this physical realm. Okay, water. Esau's polluted the water that we drink. He's put fluoride in the water. Now, I ain't gonna go through every single thing. All right, that's on this list, but I'm gonna touch on the ones that we can relate to the most. All right, just off the top of the head, and how water has been polluted so bad to the point where, even the water that comes out your taps and stuff and that and whatever, that's polluted. The thing is, the water that's running in these streams are polluted. Okay, you got forever chemicals that has polluted the streams, the water that the animals need to drink, that we need to drink. Okay, Esau has polluted that, and these forever chemicals are causing increased rates of cancer, right, on living organisms or creatures on the earth. And we're suffering for it. Remember, the scriptures tell you that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? The scriptures speak about the red horse right? That was sat there on to take peace from the earth in Revelation 6 and 4. So we are in that time. All right, don't get it twisted. The wicked is in rulership over the earth, and you got people out here that are in that distracted mindset, that peace and safety, burying their head in the sand, ignorance is bliss type of mindset setting, and it's not going to benefit them. Okay, we need divine intervention. That's why we're seeking the wisdom first. The scripture says, Proverbs 4 and 7, wisdom is the principal thing, and therefore get wisdom, and with all that I get understanding. All right. And it's interesting because the word is likened unto water. All right. I can even get a scripture to prove that. And even this word, Esau tries to pollute it. Okay. That's why he's got his organizations, his different denominations. He's got these Christian, wacky ass Christian churches out there that seek to pollute, right? Or dilute the scriptures, if you will. And we're not in the business of diluting the scriptures. We're going to give it to you straight and raw through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Now, I made a statement about this word being likened unto water. Okay, and I believe that's in Ephesians 5. Or it might be 4. 5. Ephesians 5 and 26. It says that he might sanctify it and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. All right. And that's why it was punishable by death if you were caught reading the scriptures on them plantations during slavery. Okay, because Esau he wants to cut us off from this vital principle form of nourishment that we need, right, as a people to flourish, because without this, it represents death. Remember the scriptures tell you, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. Yeah, Esau's responsible for that. Okay, through polluting or through setting up these, 501c3 charters, right? Which ultimately is the Most High, because he's blinding the minds of those that can't get it anyway. But he's using Esau to set up these organizations on the earth in order to keep our people from the truth anyway. Like I said, I mentioned, if it was punishable by death if you were even caught reading the Bible. All right? So that's one. Okay, and not to mention the forever chemicals, right? On a physical sense, the water. He's polluted the air that we breathe, the Shemayim, right? The heavens, man. He's polluted, the waters. The Shemayim in the Hebrew goes back to pertaining to the waters. He's polluted the atmosphere, spraying chemtrails in the air, heavy metals, and that we're breathing them in. The water that we're drinking, it's all polluted. Fire. What's he done with fire? Right? And other principal things. Right? Another one of the principal things for the use of man's life, right? He's weaponized fire. Okay? There's a thing called firepower. What's he done with that firepower? Okay, he's actually weaponized fire. He's actually created weapons of mass destruction. Okay, which ultimately, again, the Most High has used him. Because remember, the scripture says, King David said, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Right? So Esau has a sword, and he's going to start using it. Right? Especially during the time of Jacob's trouble. All right? Iron. All right? Even in the prophetic breakdowns of the scriptures, you know that, we're in a time of, when it comes to the statue in Daniel, right? We're in a time of iron and part clay, meaning partly strong and partly weak. And this is why you're having divisions amongst these EU nations, right? The division amongst Edomites, this Edomite rulership on the earth, but the Most High is behind the strings on that too. And not to mention iron, you got certain countries that are rich in natural mineral resources such as iron. I believe the word Brazil goes back to iron. All right, and Esau, he controls all these mines where you actually, you get these precious minerals and materials from the earth. Okay. So these things are just not readily available to us to sustain ourselves. These principal things and the use of man's life are being polluted and manipulated and kept away from us in order for us to advance ourselves, man. Okay? And these are the basic things. These are the principal things that we need. It says, and salt. The word salt goes back to salary. Esau's got us working these jobs. In fact, a punishment during the time of the Roman Empire. Where was the Apostle John sent to? He was sent to the salt mines on the Isle of Patmos. Okay? And salt is something that you use to flavor right, or to flavor meat, all right, or other dishes, right, to give it that flavor, also to stop it from rotting. Okay. In fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if we can pull up something here. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so I've typed in this on the search engine here. It says, was salt used to preserve meat? Right? It says salt in meat preservation. Yes, salt has been used to preserve meat for thousands of years. Why for thousands of years? And that shows you that it's a principle, right? It's one of the principal uses of a man's life, right? It says it works by drawing water out of the meat and creating an environment that is inhospitable to bacteria and other microorganisms which need water to survive. So you see, again, in even the time of the Romans, the Roman Empire, you had, or the pagan Roman Empire, which are the Edomites, okay, one of the capital punishments was for you to be sent, right, depending on the crime, was for you to be sent to the salt mines. All right, and that's why I made the statement, the word salt goes back to salary. Okay. If I type in salary etymology, hopefully this will come up. All right. I remember the apostles going into this years ago. All right. The word salary etymology. The word salary. All right. And what are people working for right now? Getting worked to the bone. Right. Barely making ends meet. Right. The scripture says in Haggai 1:6, you sow much and bring in little. Right? And he that earneth wages into a bag, to put it into a bag filled with holes. So the word salary really originates from what? The Latin term salarium, right? Which is the neuter form of salarius, meaning related to salt, right? Derived from sal, meaning salt. So Esau, like, man, this devil has got to go. Now he's got us breaking our backs, working these dead-end jobs, paycheck to paycheck, which, for not even actual salt, right? For money that these people, as a collective, they believe to be real money, but it's not actually real money, man. All right, the scriptures tell you what real money is. The scriptures tell you that in Genesis 13 and 3 or 4, right? Our forefather Abraham was rich in cattle and silver and gold. In order for you to obtain the salt, you need land. In order for you to have cattle, you need land, right? Real wealth, gold, silver, these things, right? We don't have today. That's why you see a lot of these, especially, you got these Jakes making these podcasts and they be sitting around, over here in the UK, I've been seeing it. Certain podcasts, Jake be talking about in their back garden, just having conversations about how, the cost of living in the UK is rising, and it's increasingly stressful to be able to just get by, because this man has pretty much taken everything from us, man, and he's not going to stop. Remember, the scriptures, speak about the devil shall come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. In Revelation 12:12, right? What did they say? What did they say at the World Economic Forum? You will own nothing, and you will be happy, right? So Esau, he's got it to a point where he barely allows us to survive, right? And then it's going to get to a point where he's going to take everything from everybody and institute that chip. Okay. Yeah, that's the mark of the beast, spoken of in Revelation 13 and 16. All right. So let's go to let's go back here now. Right? It says, and salt and flour of wheat. That goes back to food. Okay, that goes back to food, man. All right. Doesn't he control the ability to, increase taxes on food supplies, or the ability of gaining food supplies? He controls that. The ability to have access to the principal things of the use of man. Right? Food. You go to these supermarkets, you take for granted. You queue up, you scan the barcodes and that and whatever, you put it into your shopping bag, and you scan it, dip. Oh, have you got ID? Or you look over 21, or you look over 18. Can I just see your ID? You show the ID. You might want to buy some wine, which goes into what? The blood of the grape. All right, which we're gonna get to, right? But at the end of the day, like, he's controlling all of this. Okay, because the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. It says, and honey, right? He's destroying the bees, right? That create the honey, right? In fact, let's go into another article. Why are bees? Why are bees dying? Okay, why are bees dying? Bees are dying due to a combination of factors, including habitat loss, pesticide use, okay, which is controlled by Esau, climate change, right, which is pretty much being manipulated and controlled by Esau, and diseases. Again, Esau is a source of disease on the earth. Intensive farming practices have led to a significant loss of pollinator-friendly habitats. Again, okay, who controls the land? Esau. Intensive farming practices. Who controls these farms? Esau. Who's buying up all the farmland? Esau. Okay, so like, I ain't gonna mention it, Bill Bates, if you know who I'm talking about. Buying up all the farmland, wanting to cut down all the trees, and and you name it, man. These people are crazy, bro. Okay, you're dealing with the red horse here. Okay, it says reducing the food sources and nesting places bees need for a healthy diet and survival. Pesticides, particularly neonicotinoids, are harmful to bees and can kill them outright or impair their ability to navigate or forage or reproduce. Which, who controls, the pesticide industry? Okay. Pesticides, drawbacks. Okay, the drawbacks of pesticides. Pesticides have several drawbacks that affect human health and the environment. They can cause both acute and chronic health effects. Acute effects include irritation of the eyes, skin, and respiratory tract, nausea, and this is all pestilences. Didn't the Lord say that there will be pestilences in diverse places, earthquakes, all these things? And he's using Esau, again, the red horse, in order to take peace from the earth. Right? Directly irritating your eyes, your skin, your respiratory tract, your nausea, dizziness, diarrhea, and in severe cases, convulsions, difficulty breathing, and death. This man represents death. Everything outside of this word, right, represents death. And he does it because he's stuck on stupid. Psalms 50:16 says, but unto the wicked, the Most High say, what Yahweh saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? Seeing thou hatest instruction, and castest my words behind thee. So Esau, he's the type of person to take the instruction manual of the Lord, which we're reading from right now in the scriptures, right? Because the scriptures tell you how to govern your life, right? The scriptures tell you how to live, right? But then Esau will take the words and cast it behind him. And that's why we have society the way it is today, right? Because he's the source of the pain. Okay? It says, so we dealt with the honey and milk, right? You got Esau burning down all the cows. You got Esau milking cows to death. Where you got pus and milk shooting into these buckets, right? Pumping cows full of antibiotics. Okay, let's see if we can pull up something on the cows. Cows. Okay. Being pumped. Pus. Let's see what comes. Let's see what comes from this. All right. Cows pumped pus. Cows are not literally being pumped with pus, but milk can contain somatic cells, which are often referred to as pus cells due to their appearance. These cells are a result of infections such as mastitis, a common bacterial infection in dairy cows. When a cow is infected with mastitis, her milk contains a higher number of somatic cells, which is an influx of pus, right? Which are mostly neutrophils, a type of white blood cell. All right, and this is what Esau, he overly milks the cows. Okay, okay, Esau's responsible for this death, man. Look at this pus coming out of a cow's, um, um, you know, udder. Esau overly farms the land, which, hey, he doesn't even honor the land Sabbath. Remember, you're supposed to let that land rest. Okay, after the 6th year, I believe it is the land Sabbath. Okay, Esau don't do that. He's about intensive farming. Again, that's another thing that um he doesn't adhere to. Cast the words of the Most High behind them, right? According to Leviticus 25, in the 7th year there shall be a Sabbath of complete rest for the land, a Sabbath unto the Lord Yahweh. Ye are not to sow your field nor prune your vineyard. The rest allows the land to rejuvenate, returning vital nutrients to the soil. Do you think Esau's going to be like involved in this? No, this guy that's responsible for the death on the earth, he's not going to want nutrients to go back to the soil. He wants to extract the nutrients from the soil because he's trying to remember the Georgia Guidestones. They want to maintain human population to around 500 million, man. And you got billions of people on the face of the earth. So they're letting you know that they want to take out billions of people. Right? This nutrients being returned to the soil, which is supposed to enhance the quality of the produce and lead to healthier people and livestock. So not only are we feasting on meat that are not being fed the right nutrition, right? Because of the over farming of the land, not adhering to the land Sabbath, over farming the land. You got cows, you got beef, livestock eating, off the earth, off the land that doesn't contain the nutrients that it's supposed to contain. And that's why the Lord told Ezekiel to eat man's dung. The barley cakes of man's dung, because it was symbolic for the shit that we're going to be eating in this time. That's in Ezekiel chapter 4. Let's go ahead and get that. Let's get Ezekiel 4. Which this ties into the lesson anyway, because everything is polluted. It says in Ezekiel 4:13, and the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. See? So we're eating our bread defiled among these heathens, man. All right, we've been scattered among these nations. Okay, we've been scattered and dispersed, and we're pretty much in bondage behind enemy lines, and we need salvation. All right, it says, and the blood of the grape, which is wine. All right, and Esau puts all these preservatives in the wine, these, sulfites and all kinds of stuff. And sometimes you be, hitting the bottom of the wine bottle, and you be all these crystals forming in them and shit, and you be, what the fuck is that? And this alcohol, you best believe, is tainted, okay, by this devil, okay, and oil and clothing. All right, oil. Esau controls, the price of crude oil, right? And even over there in the Straits of Hormuz, which is responsible for about a quarter of the global oil supply, Esau ultimately is responsible for that because, through the things that he's doing over there in the so-called Middle East against Iran and that, he's going to cause those prices to fluctuate. Okay? He owns these oil companies, most of them. Okay? So this devil, he's got the oil, he's got the wine, the milk, the honey. He's got the power of the earth in his hand, and clothing. Let's not get started on the way that some of these women dress out here. All right? And how Esau has weaponized that against our men and women. Right? You got cross-dressers out here. You got women that are dressing scantily clad. Right? You got women literally walking down the road butt-ass naked. You can see every curvature. Now, we're supposed to use those clothes, right? First of all, he mixes fabrics. All right? We're not even supposed to be wearing mixed fabrics, man. There's a law even on that, about mixed fabrics. Okay? Mixed fabric Bible law. Let's see if we can pull that up. Okay? There's a law on that. All right? Bible mixed fabric rule. The Bible contains laws prohibiting the mixing of wool and linen fabrics, right? Known as shatnez, or whatever that is. It says the prohibition is found in Leviticus 19 and Deuteronomy 22. Okay? But there's a reason why we're not supposed to be wearing mixed fabrics. Okay? But Esau does everything opposite to what the law upholds. Remember, he cast the words of the Most High behind him. All right, let's see if we can get that one in Leviticus 19 or Deuteronomy 22. Let's see if we can get the one in Deuteronomy. All right. Here we go. Here's another one about clothing, right? It says Deuteronomy 22 and 5. This is the spirit. Have me go here. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. Right? Let's look at the NLT. A woman must not put on men's clothing. Clothing. Right? What was one of the principal things of the use of man's life? Clothing. So this devil's got to go, man. Okay? It says, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. You got men doing that, men putting on skirts. I remember one time we was teaching out there in Oxford Circus, and there was a guy that came up, and he literally, he was like, he looked like an Elamite, and he had like a stubble, like stubble like on his face, like a beard, and he had on tights and a skirt, man. And brothers saw that and were repulsed. Okay, because it's an abomination. It says, for all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord Yahweh thy power. So what I'm saying is not my words. These are the words of the scriptures. But Esau pushes this and he allows it. Right? Esau ain't saying, look, grab these guys up, man. They're supposed to be stoned. You know? Esau's allowing these things to happen. He pushes it. He advertises it. He puts it in his movies. He puts it in his shows. Right? He puts it in his commercials. Right? Why? Because the spirit that's lifted up in him is not upright in him. He's not set up on the earth to push righteousness on the earth. He's set up to do the opposite of that. Verse 11, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four corners of thy vesture, wherein thou coverest thyself. Where's the fringes at, man? Okay? So we ain't, look, man, we're clearly not in our rulership, because by law, every single Israelite is supposed to have a border of blue and fringes on. Right? According to the law. But we're living in a society now, you wear that to work, which we don't advocate, because you got certain Israelites that are bugged out, man. They'll actually literally go to their job. Say they work in an office or something. They'll just have fringes stitched to the bottom of their shirt or something. Talking about, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? You over-righteous, overzealous individuals out there. You need to stop, man. You need to pray to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua for guidance and to not be overzealous. We're not in our rulership right now. We're waiting. It's good to speak about a shadow of things to come, rehearsing of the righteous acts. You individuals got to stop that holier than thou spirit, man. Lest you be destroyed, right? Seeking your own righteousness. Like the law is the thing that can save you, and not clinging to Yahweh Shai and his sacrifice that he made for the sins that you've committed. Because you ain't perfect, man. So get off your fucking high horse. All right? This ain't that. Okay? Now I had a couple of scriptures. I'm going to close out on these. Right? This is Isaiah 24 and 4. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Right? And the top inhabitants right now are the Edomites, because the power of the earth has been given to them. This is their kingdom. Right? Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. And this is what they're responsible for. As we said before, casting the words of the Most High behind them. All right? The scriptures speak about destroy them which destroy the earth. And that time is coming, man. So we just got to wait. Psalms 82 and 4, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. And that includes, right, the principal things for the use of man's life, whether they be water, fire, iron, salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, blood of the grape, oil, and clothing, man. All right, some of this dealing with the blood of the grape, some of the wine that you drink, absolute bullshit, man. And you wake up with headaches and shit and that and whatever. Damn, what was in that wine? You know? So this shit is all polluted. And not only that, if the earth is not yielding it the nutrients that it's supposed to, then what kind of grapes are coming from this earth? You have to think about that. You know, it all has rippling effects, man. Like the scripture says, what you reap what you sow, man. And Esau is sowing nothing but wickedness. And so what's being reaped? The vibration of wickedness is being reaped, man, on a global scale. And that's why we need divine intervention. All right, we need Yahweh Shai to intervene and come and get us out of this situation. All right, so with that, man, I pray this was edifying. You know, Kal Alim La Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Shalom to the elect.